Describing himself as a hairy woman whilst experiencing severe depression, Lee Brownless has made it his mission to re-establish today's blurred lines surrounding manhood. Determined to turn around his life, Lee went on a journey of self-discovery to reclaim what he was born to be, a man. Through his business, Grab Your Manhood, Lee helps men who are stuck in anger or rage and those who experience helplessness or a loss of purpose. To him, a man in his manhood respects woman as the goddess they are, and one who can follow his natural instinct to lead. A true man is vulnerable and self-accepting, responsible for their actions, leaving blame, shame, guilt and self-judgment behind. Lee's vision is to create a true brotherhood of masculine men. Welcome, Lee. It's a pleasure to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you.
You're called a manhood coach. You coach men across Australia of all ages and at different stages of their life. I'm intrigued. What is Grab Your Manhood?
Well, Grab Your Manhood is a program that I developed to really help men to design their purpose and reclaim a direction in their life that they possibly may have lost, to be able to live from that space, that they can sort of like really have fun and adventure and live life to its fullest.
Okay, so what does that actually mean?
Well, what that means is that I teach men to literally, metaphorically grab hold of their manhood from an internal space, looking inside themselves, to living from a space of truth and honesty. There's so many lies that go on in the world, and we're just not truthful to ourselves, you know. And so therefore, how can we, if we're not truthful to ourselves, how can we then be truthful with others around us, especially with our families or our loved ones?
So what do you think prevents a man from grabbing his manhood?
Well, fundamentally, I believe that there are three key problems that prevent men from grabbing their manhood, and I call them the parasitical P's, which is number one, lack of purpose, number two, loss of passion, and number three, limp progress. Now, these parasites they wriggle and writhe their way into our minds and into our bodies, and what they really do, they destroy us as men. They destroy our masculinity, if you like. And it's not just not men that it destroys. It destroys boys, it destroys brothers, fathers, husbands, sons. So it's a really, almost like an epidemic level of a fearful state that we actually live in.
So this is really about men fulfilling their life.
Yeah, for us to actually be fulfilled, we have to have a purpose. We have to have some sort of direction. We have to have a passion. If we don't have any of those things, how can we progress and grow? We just don't. We stay stagnant. And anything that stays stagnant dies. And so therefore, it's really about, if we can oppose those three parasites, it's really then about helping men to find their purpose, to find a passion to live by, and then to grow. And that's what fundamentally that I teach men to have and become.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know what their passion is. You know, what makes you an expert in this area?
Well, I lived with depression for 10 years, a whole decade of my life. And I lived with anxiety. I lived with the fears that came around because these parasites was in me. I was living with these, you know, lack of passion, well, no passion, I mean, like no purpose, no direction. And so therefore, I wasn't growing. So I was dying inside. And fundamentally, for that growth to happen, for us to grow as men, we really need to challenge ourselves and have that purpose and direction. Otherwise, our lives become meaningless. We lose the importance of life, you know.
So you had to make a decision about something.
Absolutely, and it really did come down to making new decisions. Because if we decide to stay where we are, we're dead. And so therefore, I did make a new decision.
So how did you do that?
Well, that new decision was literally like my wife said to me, Lee, just decide something. And I decided that I wanted to follow a dream and I wanted to follow a passion. And so I sold my home in Perth. I moved my wife and my 7 children all the way over here to Queensland, and I started following my passion and I started following my dream.
That's bigger than a mountain.
It is,
God.
most definitely.
So can you give me an example of one of your clients that had to make a decision and take some action?
Yeah, there was one particular gentleman that I have in mind that was stuck with grief for 15 years. His daughter was killed in an accident, and for those 15 years he was just stuck. He had no place to go. He had no purpose, no passion, no progress in his life. And he was seeing psychologists and counsellors, and he came to see me, and I spent an hour and a half with this man. And because I'd gone through that myself, I was able to really connect with him on a much deeper level. And I was able to share with him the tools and strategies that I used to be able to get out of that similar place. And fundamentally what happened was that during that next week, he came back, and my wife answered the phone, and answered the door, and it was just like, she didn't even recognize the man. She was just like, yes, how can I help you? And I saw him at the door, and I was just like, wow, what an incredible difference.
That's amazing.
You see, when we have an emotional turmoil going inside of us, and we don't know how to deal with it, it shows up physically. And it shows up in the way that we talk, in the way that we walk, in the way that we smile, in the way that we behave. And that's a really important point to understand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's an amazing story. So you're so open about telling your own life experience, which has evolved into being passionate and caring and supportive of your brothers. Your generosity and compassion reflects on a better life for all of us. And it's not only for men, it's for women around the world as well. So Lee, I'd like to close this evening and ask you to share your strongest, most powerful piece of advice for the viewers.
Well, I would like to ask you a question. What did you do today that was different from yesterday? Because for a change to happen in your life, you have to do something different. And I encourage you to start doing something different. So if you've ever had the parasites in your life, then please give me a call.
Thank you. Lee Brownless from Grab Your Manhood, and it's Glenda from Point TV. Thank you tonight.